Hello there, I'm John Joe, this is Line War. Today we've got Clutchi against Operating Thetan. Over here he's going for tanks, by the way. Yeah, tanks, there we go. In the forest here we've got a bit of a spread out starting position for his territories over here, and he's got energy and tanks to run with. So he's gone for his territory to spread from, I think he picked the forest first, and he spread down towards this energy well and then up as far as he could. So he's going to be doing that. Whereas Clutchi is going for 3 barracks, and that's going to help him expand really fast, and he may even be able to see the tanks coming. He's switched out his units there, and tanks are being produced as well, so he's going for a bit more infantry over some tanks there. But both players seem to be wanting to do a tank rush early on. But both players are going to be heavily reliant on this energy that we have building for Operating Thetan. Why does Clutchi have his energy? He's about to get an energy well here, and there's one there as well. He's got quite a few energy wells to get in the future. He hasn't quite got them yet, and he doesn't really need them just yet either. He's only got 2 tanks being built, so he can probably waste a bit of time with that. But he is sending his tanks straight away to this location. That's probably where he thinks Operating Thetan is. I'm just going to call him Thetan, I think. But he does have some eco behind him as well. He's got a town over there, a town here, and another one down here. So the southern part of his territory will have a lot of eco, and the northern part will have a lot of energy. Whereas Thetan has just got his tanks out. He has got them capturing territory as they move. Probably isn't a bad idea right now if he's building up their numbers. He is going to send them on their way. So they do capture territory really fast. So it may even be worth trying to test how fast tanks can build infantry, capture territory, and maybe try and do a video on it. See what I can do. So we do have a bit of a slow start, so I am going to speed up the game. I don't want to waste too much time just seeing until they engage, so let's have a look at that. I think Clutchi is in this area, so I don't think it'll take too long. Yep. I think Clutchi will be able to see Thetan soon. But his tanks are going the wrong way. If he spots it earlier, he might be able to redirect his tanks down this way. Unless he wants to go around the top. I mean, he could wait till these tanks come in as well. They're coming forward this way. So where is Thetan? Oh, Thetan can see Clutchi already. Don't know if he's noticed him yet because they're in the forest. But he can see the units. Now Clutchi can see his as well. So he's moving away. Clutchi is out of energy. I didn't realize there was 2 energy wells over here. So he's really low on energy. Stopped his tank's movements just in case he needs to move them again in the future, I think. But this one's still moving because of the territory he's trying to grab. And he will be out of energy any second. He does have an energy well being built right now. Thetan, on the other hand, is pushing forward. Not too worried. He's pushing his tanks into a better position. Capturing the territories on the way and waiting for the right opportunity to strike, I guess. He's got some up here as well. So he's letting them capture territories while they get in position, which is pretty good use of their time. Not too worried about the group of units here. He's just going to send them in. No, he's not. He's going to change his mind there and just make sure they stay together, because otherwise they would have separated then. Clutchi is hiding tanks in the mountains here, so Thetan can't see them. Oh, he can't, not even past here. He will be able to see them soon, though, because he has got quite a lot of units here, and their cumulative vision will be able to reach that. And even though Thetan has energy, he's got 2 productions he was struggling with it. I think one's just finished building. So he is struggling to keep up with this energy right now. And as his tanks build up in even greater numbers, they are going to struggle. He has switched out now. He's going into artillery, I think, or SAM units. I think that's artillery. But no one seems to be engaging just yet. We do seem to have something going on now, so we'll just put it back to normal speed. Tanks going through the mountains there. I don't know if Thetan can see them yet. Yes, he can. His accumulative vision. He's got way more tanks than Clutchi does. And Clutchi can't see too much because tanks don't really have a lot of vision, so he has no idea how many tanks are actually over here until Thetan moves in there. Clutchi is on the move, trying to retreat his tanks, but already struggling with energy. Got another energy well being built here. He does have quite a bit of energy access up here as well, so he will be able to try and keep them going. Thetan does have quite a lot of movement in these tanks, but he does have positive income for this energy anyway, so he's also building up some eco over here, so he's not too worried. He feels like he's got a very strong force, and I would agree with that. Especially with the choke points, it makes it harder for the enemy to get around these tanks. The Thetan has built up quite a large force early on in this game, and he's not using them to put too much pressure on Clutchi directly. He's just pushing them forward. Now he's going to go for the pressure. He can see the energy wells. He's got an idea of where Clutchi might be, and he's taking a risk to go there to see if he is there. So he's not too worried about capturing territories now. What is Clutchi going to do? Can he see this? So we got the tanks moving around up here, but the tanks that we were looking at are down here. We got quite a large army from Clutchi as well, so these might be able to push in to defend that. Thetan just changed his command, so he's going around these units, or at least trying to. And Clutchi is going to try and block the path with these units, as well as bringing these tanks in the way, try and catch up from behind. And they'll probably be able to take him out if these tanks get distracted by the meat shield that's in the opposite direction. But he is just going to try and push through right now and try to get to this energy that he can see through the fog of war. Up here the tanks are going to move in through the top and see if Clutchi can spot that. He can see it, but he's not reacting to it just yet. I think he's hoping to defeat this army with his tanks and bring his tanks up through here to defend in case he needs to, because I can imagine Thetan is going to bring his tanks down through this area. Clutchi is trying to get his tanks in fast, but now his infantry are in the way of his tanks. But they did stop their path, and they have forced Thetan to move around the enemy. There you go, the tanks in the north are getting free rein to come down through this area now. They are moving out to a different location just to explore, but he might choose to come down there instead. He's just checking out the energy wells up in the north to see if Clutchi actually has anything else on the field. Now we've been looking a lot at Clutchi's base, but I wonder what Thetan's actually been doing over here. He's building an airfield, and he's got another few tanks, but mostly artillery and SAM now. He is running out of energy though, and that is slowing down his tanks, making it really difficult for them to get away. So he stopped the movement of the ones in the north, so that these guys can escape, but they are still struggling with that energy. He switched it from haste mode so that they use less energy, and can potentially get away, but I think this one's going to come into range over here. Clutch's point of view, he can see that there are tanks up here, and he's made a blockade here, or at least he's trying to, with what he has, but he's trying to make sure that the enemy doesn't get behind his base to start building over there. Clutchi is using a bit more energy to catch up with these guys with haste mode, and will do so because Thetan doesn't really have the option to do haste mode right now, so he can't really get away. The tanks have surrounded Thetan's group over here, and they have managed to take out quite a few. They are trying to rush away. They're finding a path out of there. There is a little pathway through the mountains there, but as we know, tanks struggle through the mountains. As these tanks are getting away, they're leading Clutch's main army, his main tank force, away from the area, allowing his units to come in through the north and potentially go for those energy wells. But there is quite a lot of defense here when it comes to infantry and artillery. But the tanks have decided to retreat with the lack of energy, and it looks like they are just going to go around up into the top part of the map instead. Going to try and regroup with these guys, so he's going to try and bring all of his tanks together. And Thetan has a lot of money left over. He's got 1,800 in his bank right now. Let's have a look at the economy. So we're at 940 every minute for Thetan and 860 for Clutchi. Clutchi also has a fair amount of money left over as well. So both players are hyper focused on what they are doing on the battlefield. They haven't really built much at their base. They might be doing it on purpose to save cash, But at this point, if you can defend from the enemy or fail the attacks, then you really need to focus on what you're doing back at your base as well. But we do have another group of tanks coming in. We have a lot of artillery. It looks like Clutch is going in for the attack on these artillery. Going to get his infantry in there before they build up too much. Over here, the tanks have been caught up in the mountains. And this one is so slow now, he can't even see the enemy that was fighting him. I think he died already. Yeah, he died before I could get there again. But their visual range is very small when they're in a single unit. They couldn't even see through the stealth of the mountain when that tank was on his own. Over here, the tanks are joining in the artillery to try and block these infantry from getting too close too early. And he split his tanks up into two groups to stop any units getting through here. And the extra firepower is going to push Clutchi back over that. As those tanks pretty much roll over his units there. But Thetan does still have a large group of units behind Clutch's base, and Clutchi is not really comfortable with that. He's really trying to clear up the mess over there. And he pretty much has control over most of the territories here, apart from Thetan's attempts to grab it. We have the artillery mixed with the tanks over here, and I think Clutchi is very concerned about that. He's trying to push a defensive line across here, preparing for that attack. Over here, I completely missed it with Clutchi. I brought a lot of infantry down from the north over here while Thetan was actually attacking. He was very distracted. He brought infantry down. I don't know if there was any other units there. I didn't actually see that at all. And nor did Thetan, obviously, because he's been caught way off guard. He's lost pretty much all of his production at this point. I can't see what else Thetan has. Doesn't have much going on over there. He does have some more production placed over here, and he's got a barracks in there. Trying to fix the mistake he's just made. But he's pretty much lost the... He was building airfields here as well to switch into, and he's just lost that. So although Clutchi was under a lot of pressure, managing to pull off an attack, coming around the top of his base, he was able to take away quite a lot of Thetan's infrastructure. And that is going to put Thetan down into a bad situation. Especially after investing a lot of time into the initial attacks, which didn't quite play out as well as he'd hoped. It was a very good distraction, but unfortunately it distracted him. Up here we do have the group of tanks defending themselves, and they probably will. There's one tank just left out of this fight, which is unfortunate because he'll probably get taken out straight after, but this force over here will be able to chase these tanks. But the tanks are faster than them, so if Thetan actually keeps up with that, those tanks will get away. Down here the strikers have come towards this artillery force as the infantry and tanks move in towards them. But Thetan is trying to sneak some tanks around the bottom side of Clutch's base. And it looks like he's going for these airfields. He's going to come around across this area, sneak around the units, and trying to pass into this airfield area. He's going to try and use the tanks to take out those strikers without having to shoot them out the sky. And despite Clutch's energy wells being in quite a contested area, especially with the battlefield just here, he has defended them pretty well, just pretty much by placing his units in the right spots at the right times. I think Thetan has forgotten about those tanks in the north as he's focused on what's going on down here. But he is rebuilding in this forest once again. And he has some infrastructure. He's going for a lot of eco quite early in this game. There we go, the 3 tanks are being pushed towards this airfield. There is another tank over here, I think. So 4 tanks. And that airfield is going to be getting quite a lot of damage. Thetan might be able to take that out, because tanks can do quite a lot of damage really fast. And the strikers are going to be able to try and stop them quite dominantly, but the strikers are going to be trying to take off to defend their own landing spot. I'm not sure who's going to win this right now. I think that tank's heavily damaged. I'm pretty sure it'll survive. There we go. So Clutchi has defended that airfield pretty much against odds there. I think that would be quite a hard thing to do. And the strikers are coming in down here to protect this choke point once again. But Clutchi has survived. He's taken away all of the units at the back of his base. As far as I can tell, let's have a look at Thetan's view. Yep. So Clutchi has managed to not only defend from the heavy attacks from Thetan, he's able to actually take a strike against Thetan and clear out any of the damage done without losing anything. I'm pretty sure he didn't lose any structures in that, if I remember correctly. Whereas unfortunately for Thetan, he's had to rebuild quite a lot, but he's going heavy eco early on, and Clutchi might not have noticed that. Especially with the attacks that Thetan has been putting out there. So this eco boost might be what he needs to push back Clutchi once again. We do have a group of factories over here as well, so he's dotting them around so they're not all in one group, so he can't lose it all in one go. Clutch's point of view, he is just going to reclaim this territory over here that was taken away from him. He is also going for a lot of eco at this point. Spending a lot of cash on some barracks down here and a factory. The Clutchi just went on a spending spree on towns and some extra production. But he is struggling with his economy. He's got 800, but he's spending 800 as well. Whereas Thetan's economy is 1,300. And he's spending about 1,000. So Thetan has definitely got the advantage when it comes to economy. He's spending more than Clutchi, but he's also earning about, I don't know, 60% more. Down here, it looks like Clutchi is crossing the ocean to get to him. Or unless his units were just there earlier. Yeah, because it's his side of the island. I thought he was coming down through the water there. So he must have had some units left over there. Clutch is bringing them back through to try and stop Operating Thetan to have a location in this area. And Clutch is putting up a defensive line, a meat shield if you like, and the strikers are going to be the ones that do the damage here. There are some anti-air, but not as much as you need. I mean, there are only 3 strikers, so... And there are a lot more coming in now. So these SAM units are pretty much going to get destroyed. There are a couple more in the area, but they are going to get hit by a lot more of these strikers. Clutch is now bringing in his units to try and close the gap between the artillery, while the strikers are doing their damage, and potentially these guys could help take out the SAM units on the ground. Helping the strikers do their damage, but he's retreated the strikers, noticing there's quite a lot of damage there. This is the main engagement right now. There isn't too much else going on as far as I can tell. Energy-wise, both players seem to be doing alright. They don't seem to have to worry because they've switched out of tanks going into artillery, SAM and infantry. But both players do seem to be a bit scattered. Clutchi is grouped in the middle here, which would be a bad thing if Clutchi had a larger force in a line here. But unfortunately, Clutchi just doesn't have the units to fill in that gap. Not yet, anyway. He is trying to build up his numbers. And he is trying to build up his eco. Strikers being called down here to try and deal with the units straying off into that gap. And elsewhere on the map, there is another engagement going on up here. There's a few tanks taking on quite a lot of infantry here, and the 2 of them are heavily damaged. One of them still got quite a lot of health. I think that one's reversing over the enemy there. But I do think those riflemen will take out those tanks eventually. I could be wrong though, there aren't many of them. They are heavily damaged, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure the tanks are winning that one actually. But they will have more infantry going that way soon, so... We even have a commando on the field there from Thetan. We'll have a look through his side of things now. He's got quite a lot of reinforcements heading in at a constant rate, which is allowing his air force to build up because they're not quite in range. He's building helicopters instead, which means they can go quite a bit further if you use them right. Trying to jump them across the map. And we have a city coming out from Thetan. He's going in this for the long game, and he still has quite a lot of territory to grab. Over here, Clutchi is setting up circle commands to try and fill in these gaps, leaving the lines running, but these guys prioritize the lines, the circle commands over the lines. They will fill up that gap, allowing his units to build up a little longer without having to worry about the lines too much. And we do have another force of units coming in through this side, which are going to be met by a couple of tanks. I don't think Clutch is too worried about that because he has a lot of production over here as well and quite a few units left over coming through. Which is going to put extra pressure on both players, to be fair, as they both meet at these choke points. But up here, it looks like Clutchy is winning in the north. Not with many units left over, though, so... Strikers are moving in over there. I'm not sure. Did Thetan send something over there? He's got a commando snuck through, so he can see that the territory is being taken. He couldn't see the commando. Because there's only one, I'm going to assume that there was only one commando just sneaking off. It wasn't dropped in. There we go, the commando is down. We have quite a substantial army on both sides meeting at this point here. Clutchy is spread out a bit more and therefore might be able to surround the enemy. But they are backed up with a lot of anti-air, so the strikers can't really do much about this right now. Sneaking a couple of units around the side to deal with these artillery might be the SAM units might be a really good idea if you can. But generally, they will do that naturally, so you don't have to do that too much. These artillery are already going around the battlefield over there, and these infantry units and the few artillery that's there are blocking this path for anything coming through. Strikers are moving out once again just to check on this area, but he has got control over it once again. And up in the north there are a couple of tanks moving in over here, but Clutchy does have quite a few units still capturing territories as they come down to this way, which will funnel through into one larger group. The main force of artillery that was situated here have been taken out by the force that's come through, leaving those SAM units exposed, forcing Thetan to come back a bit. Which is putting a lot of pressure on him, and as that happens, the force over here from the red team, Thetan, is losing ground. They've pretty much gone, actually. And Clutchy is pushing through there as well. With the strikers running around, if you can take these SAM units out, he'll definitely have full control over this, and anything that comes around unexpectedly, the strikers can help with the defense on that. But over here, it looks like Clutchy is taking the advantage, and I'm pretty sure he's lower on economy. He's got 1,200, whereas Thetan has 1,500, so Clutchy is out-ecoed, but yet still managing to put up a really good fight against Thetan. And when I say that, I mean he's actually pushing him back. And there is a big city over here. If Thetan loses this ground, he's definitely going to be under eco. But he has been building up his air units, which we can see being brought in right now. He's got 4 strikers coming in. But there are some helicopters left over that he can bring in as well, if he's doing that. He is forced to bring them out onto the front lines now to defend this location, otherwise he will lose this ground completely, leaving his city over here pretty exposed. Unfortunately for Clutchy, he doesn't have too much anti-air going on over here. Even his air force doesn't have any anti-air capabilities apart from, I suppose they do have a minigun at the front, but that isn't going to do too much. You can't really use them anyway because the SAM units will take them out. So Thetan really needs to pull these guys back before this front army takes them out. SAM units are not a good meat shield. As we see all that coming through, I can imagine, is Clutchy switching up what he has in his factories? I don't think so. I think he's still going for those. He is bringing his strikers out though. Where are they going? They're going over here to try and take out these tanks as they move in. So that is a bit concerning. They are really close to the airfield. They are pushing on through over there. I don't think they're going to get through. There's quite a lot of strikers above them. I think Clutchy can easily handle that with the strikers flying over. That's the second one down, the third one down at the same time. And over on this side, we have the SAM units that were such a threat to the air units of Clutchi are being taken out now. So now Clutchi can bring his air force in without fear of attack, and he's also set up some airstrips to allow the production to carry on, and it looks like he's going for interceptors, so he isn't changing out his factories, he is going for anti-air air units. He spotted the energy well, he's getting his strikers from these airfields to go over now that they have a bit more range, and they'll probably be able to take this out. There isn't much of a front army from either player now, but there is very little anti-air from both players. So the Air Force is pretty much taking control. As soon as those interceptors are done, the Air Force of Thetan is going to struggle in this area, but Thetan does have good ground control at this point. And the SAM units will be able to protect what's on the ground, but we do lose one of the energy wells. I'm pretty sure Thetan has quite a lot of energy production, so I think it should be fine. But it is still some damage that is going to hurt him in the long run, and his air force is going to suffer from that eventually. We can see it's already in the negative production. And his tanks are being pushing through over here, so that's just going to mean that Clutch's attack there on the energy well make it harder for Thetan to do the attacks with the tanks and the air units at the same time. We have another airstrip coming out for interceptors over here, so he's keeping his production up, and any unit that gets taken out will be replaced by new units almost straight away. Clutchi is now putting up a defense. He's got a lot of artillery to deal with, but he also has a fair amount of infantry which help as a meat shield. And he's bringing his units up this direction for a bit, so that way when his units come through here, he can surround the enemy by bringing them back down. Over here, the tanks are presenting a threat to Clutchi, but Clutchi does have a sufficient amount of strikers to take that out very quickly. And they will be taking out any units in their path along the way. He is bringing the interceptors in there with him. No, he isn't. They're still behind, so the interceptors are staying behind. So Thetan doesn't even know that he has interceptors right now. He is bringing the interceptors over, and where are they going? They're going over here to protect this area. Even just 2 interceptors against that many strikers should do quite a lot of damage, but with so many strikers, the anti-air capabilities of them will eventually outweigh the extra air superiority the interceptors have. But when you've got one striker straying off like this, that will get taken out very quickly, especially if both interceptors target it. But he's allowed to get away, unfortunately. Clutchi doesn't have much control over what they target like that. There we go, he's bringing the interceptors back, sending the strikers into this main force, and I assume as soon as they get there, he's going to bring these units down and these units across, trapping the enemy with strikers over the top. There we go, bringing them off. They're going to move in. This is going to be a lot of firepower all at once. He's spreading the line out a bit further so that they end up approaching all at the same time. And with that many strikers, I can see it clearing up this battlefield quite quickly. I'm just trying to make sure I know what else is going on. It looks like Clutchi has been busy in other locations of the map. Thetan is trying to push through here, but unfortunately only minimally successfully, as the strikers keep on ruining their efforts there. However, the battlefield over here is going to, on the ground, win Thetan, but in the air, Clutchi is going to win that in general. However, the north is looking very interesting right now as Clutchi brings in a large force of units from this side, and Thetan is also trying to do the same thing as they both meet in the middle once again. There is quite a lot of defense here for this city, and we have some strategic bombers. I call them strategic bombers. I think they're just called bombers. But yeah, we have the bombers over there, but Thetan is really running out of energy. So even though he has these aircraft, he can't really use them that well. The strikers over here have pretty much taken out the main force of Thetan's, and the ground units are enough, but only just, to be able to push these guys back. Or to keep them at bay, to be fair. Clutchi's got a small force going up the north here, which is fairly undefended right now, but there is a lot of infantry being pulled back from this location. We have some fortifications trying to be set up by Thetan to try and stop any units coming through these locations here. But these bombers, if they could lift off, you can see the production over here and you can start taking them out, or even the energy wells. I haven't seen much anti-air coming out from Clutchi, as he is relying on the interceptors, which he does have some out somewhere. There we go, down here. There we go. The tanks have been brought up through this section over there. And Clutchi is pretty much ignoring them with most of his units. Some of the new units are coming in down this way to try and stop them. Bombers are en route somewhere. I'm not sure where they're going to go. They are moving out and I think they're going for the energy. I'm not sure. Oh, they're targeting the airfields. Which unfortunately won't stop the Clutchi's Air Force in the long run, because he still does well, in the long run it will, in the short term, because he still has these airfields, which is where his air units are actually coming from. But they are going to bomb those airfields, and they will do it pretty much uncontested right now, because there isn't any anti-air defending this location. The interceptors have been sent over here, and they will take out one, because they aren't very strong in defense, but they will take out structures very fast. And those airfields on the ground right now are going to be heavily damaged. The interceptors are still over here, leaving these airfields unprotected, which will unfortunately harm Clutchi if they go down, but they run out of ammo. And Thetan is forced to retreat right now, but he could still just go in again and see if that works. Thetan has the energy in the water here, and he's got missile boats to protect him. At this point, I think he's got quite a few. I'll probably turn off the production there. Probably do need more, but I wouldn't waste too much on the defense. We have anti-air on the ground over here as well. The interceptors have given chase to these bombers, which was a good move by Clutchi, because I think he caught a few out then. And the strikers are being firing down into the south part of the battlefield. From both teams, the strikers are heavily focused on this location here. But as they do, we've got a large force of anti-air coming in, and they will start taking down these units really fast. Sorry, my alarm was going off. So, strikers will be able to take on these units quite well, but they will take heavy losses from that group of SAM units. Still not sure who is actually going to win this. Clutchi and Thetan seem to be putting a lot of pressure on each other. Clutchi is moving through this location, mostly because the anti-air that came through wasn't enough to stop the ground forces, but they did make the strikers retreat. And the strikers were what allowed these guys to get through in the first place. But up in the north, a large force did come through, but now Thetan is pushing back, especially up here with a large group of infantry, and the bombers that are able to do long-range, real bad structure damage. It looks like Clutch's forces are slowly thinning out as time goes on. The interceptors are being brought over to defend anything in this area, as the strategic bombers are going to take heavy damage from those guys, and they won't last long in this environment. There we go. I think Thetan's attack here has, unfortunately for him, failed. The interceptors were enough to stop those bombers and take them out pretty quickly. Over on this side of things, Clutchi is still managing to build up a larger force than Thetan, but the strikers are moving in once again to try and take them out. And without any anti-air on the ground, he's going to have to bring his interceptors in there. But they are kind of busy dealing with the attacks coming in from the bombers over here, but I think the bombers are running out. He's got one out there, he's got two more being built, but that's the last one right now, as far as I can tell. And the interceptors are going to still try and chase it. We've got one chasing it right now. I think it will survive from one interceptor, but I could be wrong. No, there we go. Got a striker coming in to try and target it now. But over here, the infantry are coming in quite fast. And they are pushing through on a blue command, so they're not taking over the territories anymore. They are just rushing through the enemy, trying to get through into the back of Clutch's base. Over here, the strikers have pretty much cleared up the ground forces over here, while the interceptors were busy dealing with the bombers. And the strikers on Clutch's team are coming in to try and stop the pressure of the infantry pushing through. One of them has got through though, just a single unit. But the rest will probably fall to the amount of units coming in from Clutchi there. Clutchi senses he might be able to go through this location, especially with all these units defending on that side. Thetan has spotted that. He is moving the units from the fortified area. Try and block the path of these guys coming in up here. And there is quite a few SAM units out of place here, which means that they might be able to get a few free kills on him. Down in the south, we've got the strikers coming in to try and apply the pressure here, which might allow these units to get through, as these units get trapped between the two sections. Don't think he's going to be able to get any damage done here, especially with the aircraft coming in now. But he has managed to block him off on the mountains, and Clutch's plan is just going to carry on trying there. He's got some units coming in through the northern part. Clutchi is sending some units up in this direction. I think that was in case any units got through, but he did take them out with the strikers. And he's placed the missile boats along this coastline here, just in case any air units come and support this attack. We have a lot of airstrips coming out from Clutchi right now, so he's got all these aircraft being built from 2 airfields. And we've got 5, 6 airstrips. Try and store all the aircraft being produced by just 2 airfields. Thetan's side of things, he is bringing in quite a lot of units from this original location, which he hasn't changed too much, but he has 4 airfield productions. And he has a lot of money stored up as well, so Thetan is not worried about eco at all. Well, to be fair actually, he doesn't have much income, but he has a lot of eco left over. And his eco is fairly well balanced, he has a lot of production. Whereas Clutchi is also balanced, but at 500 less. I think Thetan eventually, because of that, will push through, but Clutchi is holding his own against someone who's got a lot more eco than he does. And he's setting up defenses like this, and it's stuff like this where he brings the strikers in over the top on zones with no anti-air, which is allowing him to keep up in this game. But if Clutchi doesn't manage to do something about it like this, which is really good, like getting his units around the back, trying to push in through, take territories away, if he doesn't do that, he will eventually lose this game. But having the defense in a curve with the circle commands is really well placed. That will help with the defense against these. Tank is trying to sneak through, and it probably will get through for a minute, but I think the strikers are going to be called upon it. It has stopped here, so these infantry are going to be happy to take that out quite easily. Up in the north, the force from Clutchi that's going around here, which really needs to be successful, is being met by a large group of infantry units down here. Up here. Clutchi is still trying to take just the territory as well, which is something he needs to do. But it unfortunately is making him slow, and he is in range of these strikers, and they will take out a lot of this area because there is no SAM units there. Those aircraft are going to get 3 hits on them, which is unfortunate for Clutchi. But Thetan is trying to push through still in multiple locations, in places he doesn't have the advantage for. But he has to try and break Clutchi eventually. With the eco that Operating Thetan has, it might be wise to start pushing in some interceptors. That way, the interceptors in the air won't be so much of a threat. But they do just fly over some SAM units, and one goes down. Another one's about to go down over here as it gets shot at by loads of these SAM units down here. I think he's got way too many interceptors right now, but he does need it with... He's against 4 airfield production right now, so he does need a lot of interceptors, but he needs more strikers right now, especially in this situation. The interceptors are pretty much just acting as a meat shield right now. Even though they're not made of meat, but you get the point. Right, so Clutch's forces in this area are being pushed back. Well, to be fair, there's one left. And now Thetan thinks he's going to be able to go on the attack now, and he's sending in a large force through this section on both of these little parallel lines. And Clutchi is going to try and defend that in the same way he has been over here. But now his units are built up in larger numbers, and he's taken out the majority of the forces on the front line here. Clutchi is now pushing back through once again, eventually hoping to break Thetan and try and get some make some progress on this. Bombers are coming in over here, probably take out some of this structures of the production over here from Clutchi. And the strikers are being called in to thinning out the army over there. I'm tempted to leave the battle just like this, just so I can see everything going on. The strikers are moving on up here. We've got a lot of infantry over there. The bombers are coming in over to this airfield, this energy well over there. And it looks like they are going to take that out, which is unfortunate for Clutchi, but he does have a lot of storage of energy. Not sure exactly how much production he's got. Over on this side, we can see that these units over here have pretty much destroyed anything that came towards them, and the strikers have managed to help out with the bottom section and stop those getting through. Clutchi's force is pushing through over here, but the reinforcements are not as strong as what Thetan's are, so I think eventually Clutchi is going to get pushed back once again here. And the same thing is happening over here, except there are no reinforcements, or minimal reinforcements, so I think Clutch's forces here might actually break through, and they may be able to assist in the north part here and be able to push through even further. I'm still not sure who's going to win this. I can see that Thetan has an economic advantage, but Clutchi is using his units in such a way that are allowing him to get the advantage in certain situations. That is sort of balancing out the eco. Thetan is targeting the energy wells over here, and if he's successful, he will ground the air force of Clutchi. I'm not sure how many energy wells he's got. He's got one over here left over, and I think that's it. This one was taken out earlier. But if these two go down, that means Clutchi's air force will be grounded, and he'll be only relying on the force on the ground. These guys are not breaking through fast enough to save the units up here from the artillery barrage coming over there. But they will break through, and hopefully will be able to support the fight going on up there for Clutchi. Artillery are moving in over here, and they are firing and getting some free shots on here, so Clutchi needs to move these guys in or send in some strikers to clear out those artillery. Got forces moving in through the top part there. We have some bombers coming back in over here. They did successfully take out these energy wells. And this last energy well here is going to get taken out by these strategic bombers if there is no defense for them. There we go, those interceptors have managed to get there really quick this time. Defend that energy well. I'm not sure if it will be enough. I think it will. I think the interceptors are going to be able to take them out really fast. So they will save that energy well, I believe. But they are chasing away the one that's out of ammo. And I think they have run out of ammo now. This one's still staying there, so he might be able to do it. These guys are chasing out the way the ones that don't have any ammo left. This one is still firing on it. It is heavily damaged. There is 2 bombers over the top of this energy well. The last energy well of Clutchi, I believe. I'm not sure. He's got 24 production. Yeah, that's right. That is just one energy well. He does take out the last one there. So he saves his energy well by the skin of his teeth. still on fire though, so they could bring in these strikers into the area. Clutchi is going for one last final assault, I believe. Got the units pushing through down in here, joining this army like I said it would. Luckily there is still some there, mostly reinforcements. As that happens, these guys are coming in through the top here to try and take on the artillery in the mountains here. The assault that first started here has unfortunately been foited, and Clutchi is retreating to defend once again. And down here, Clutchi is having to fend off against strikers that are coming in. But he has no... Clutchi has no energy production? Oh yeah, because it's full. So he's got a storage unit. He still has no production because it's full. So he can still use it, but unfortunately a rocket comes in. I did not see that. And this is what happens when the enemy has an economic advantage against you. These strikers are pretty much going to get destroyed. He's taken this energy storage out instead. And he actually does have 2 energy productions somewhere. So he's got another one somewhere else. Oh, he's got it back up here. He's rebuilt that one. His forces are coming in. You can see how many artillery units are in the mountains there, all fortified. This force will not break that location. So instead he's going to bring them up through here and try and help with this area. And these units are not coming up towards here. He's trying to take out the rocket silo over here from Thetan, which might end up going down. He could fire it, but he doesn't. I wonder if that should set off a nuke. If it's already built, it's already ready, it should just blow up into a nuke. To be fair, that's probably not what would happen in real life, but... Over here, the bombers are coming back over again, but there is another energy well, so Clutchi is running low on energy. And unfortunately, his ground forces are being thinned out far too much. I am pretty sure at this point, Thetan is going to win this. I'm not 100% sure. I suppose it could always switch sides. It has done before. And I'm no pro, so I just like watching. But unfortunately, I think Clutchi's units are thinning out too much. He is low on economy, and he's running out of economy, which is going to slow down his production. So when he's got this being built right now, but with his economy in the red, it will never reach 500 for him to buy that rocket. Not unless he changes his economy, stops production, which he really can't afford to do right now. On Thetan's side of things, he did have that rocket come in through this area, which is being rebuilt because he has the economy to keep funding these rockets. He did lose the one down here, which was unfortunate because it was ready to fire. And he had the energy to do it as well. But at this point, Clutchi's forces are too thin to do any damage in this area. And in the north area here. But I am surprised that Clutchi wasn't able to try and destroy this airfield. I'm impressed that Thetan was able to hold up enough anti-air. Even holding this lake with a few missile ships was a really good idea. So that they couldn't sneak across the water for the defense. And let's have a look at Clutchi. Clutchi knows there's a rocket up in this area, but he just can't reach it, so he knows he could be hit again soon. And he's trying to build his own rocket to counter that, so he has stopped a lot of his production. Trying to build up 500, ready for when this is built, and I think that's what his plan is against that rocket, but he knows that he can't keep up with it, so the next rocket that fires will probably be Thetan's, not his own. There is a large force of strikers coming in through this area, just as artillery arrived, so these strikers are trying to target this area, but they are going to be fighting a few interceptors right now. As the interceptors join in on the fight, there are so many strikers here, the strikers will probably win, taking heavy losses, but they would probably be able to destroy these interceptors one-on-one. Well, not one-on-one, but one army versus one army, is what I meant. But he is going to retreat the strikers anyway. He's probably going to lose this one here. It does not fire, so the striker does survive. Infantry are trying to swarm these artillery, and it looks like it's working. I'm not sure if they can take them all out, but Thetan will take a lot of damage from that. The artillery are moving in through the south now as well, so Clutchi's final assault, I believe, has unfortunately failed for him. So unless he can pull something out the bag really quickly, which I'm thinking he's relying on this rocket, but I'm assuming a rocket from Thetan is coming quite soon. It is already constructed, he's just trying to wait for the right target to fire at. But his army and his forces are breaking through on multiple fronts now. The strikers are really doing their damage on the airfields here. They managed to get in and take out quite a lot of the strikers there before the interceptors could really do any damage against them. The only disadvantage to the interceptors, although they're very powerful, it does take them a while to respond, so you kind of need to predict the enemy's movements with them. We do have a force from Clutchi getting in through the top over here, and Thetan's not too worried about it. I think Thetan just wants to get in and destroy Clutchi's base right now. Still has that one rocket, so he's trying to wait for a good position to use that on. It might be just out of range, to be fair. That might be the maximum range it has. And if that were the case, I'd probably fire the rocket over here to take out the airstrips and the units, allowing the artillery to push through even further. That'd probably be my choice, because I don't like having them up there very, like, built, ready to fire, but not firing for very long. Because they do cost upkeep, and it is quite a lot. Strikers are moving in over here to try and take out the production, while the artillery are taking out the units on the ground. And I think that's going to be quite successful. We do have jets over here trying to take on those, the bombers. Don't know if there's many left. We've still got some being produced. There's one there. But Thetan is finally through this choke point over here. He is surrounded by units. Don't know if... yeah, you can see that rocket. So we can see there's a rocket here by Clutchi being built. And from Clutchi's side of things, it is still being built. I was just wondering if it was done yet or nearly done. And if Clutchi loses this energy well over here, it's going to really struggle to fire it, because you need 20 energy to fire a nuke. Oh, look, Thetan's side of things. Is he firing that rocket yet? He doesn't plan to. But now Thetan is taking advantage. After Clutchi sent his full force, pretty much, through these gaps and tried to take out Thetan as best he could, now he is pretty much low on units himself, and is unable to defend from the attacks, the retaliation from Thetan. And unfortunately, I think Clutchi is losing ground really fast. The strikers are being called in. Try and save a completely undefended location here, which could take out the strikers themselves. Clutchi does have a rocket now. It is available to fire. Both players are literally fighting massive ground battles now, and neither one willing to fire their rockets at each other. There we go. I think that was an energy warning. Oh, to be fair, so that's why Clutchi hasn't fired, because he's under 20. I thought that was a warning because he fired it, but he just simply can't fire it because the energy required to fire it is 20. He's only got 14. Whereas Thetan has no excuse. He can fire it anytime he wants. But he doesn't need to. So I don't think he wants to. I think he's being an eco-friendly player. He doesn't want to contaminate the grounds. There we go. The strikers are taking out the production over here, which is allowing the artillery to get through even further. Down in this area, I think the strikers would be better off targeting these airstrips. But at this point, I suppose it doesn't matter too much. We do have the SAM here to try and take out any units that come over. We've got an interceptor out of position there. Clutchi has finally managed to build up enough energy to fire his rocket, and I think it's going straight for that rocket. or definitely the city, but one rocket isn't enough to take out a city. So I don't know if he's actually going to hit the rocket itself. He doesn't even get it to land. Missile ships in the ocean stop that rocket right at the last minute, which is very demoralizing for Clutchi. He does have enough eco to be able to build another rocket though by the looks of it. Yeah, he did, so he's got another one building. He could fire that again, but I very much doubt he will. He doesn't have any energy left over. And we are pretty much at the end of the match now. So, let me know if you like this video. Feel free to like and subscribe. I will be trying to keep up with the uploads off this channel for quite a long time, as long as I can anyway. So, I'll see you around. There are 2 videos on screen right now. I'll see you in one of those. Thanks for watching.